All right, so you know that feeling when you listen to a song and you just know there's a whole other story hiding just under the lyrics? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We're going to deconstruct the song Below the Surface, which, let me tell you, uses this incredible metaphor of a single house to talk about social division, secrets, and, well, what happens when it all comes crashing down. So, here's our game plan. We're going to follow this story through 5 key ideas. We'll start, of course, below the surface. Then we'll look at the two worlds, one house. From there, we'll dive into the masquerade of survival, see how that fragile world becomes a house of glass. And finally, we'll watch it all lead to the inevitable collision. I mean, wow, the song just drops you right in, doesn't it? No messing around. This very first line tells you everything you need to know. What we're seeing isn't the whole picture. It immediately introduces us to this hidden reality, a world where people are living their lives completely, totally out of sight. Okay, first up, below the surface. We're starting at the very foundation of this story. This is all about setting the stage, establishing this deep, unseen, and really fundamentally unequal divide that everything else is built on. And look, we're not talking about a literal, physical basement here. It's much deeper than that. It's a social one. When the song says the roots run deep though unseen, that's the key. It's telling us this isn't some recent issue. No, this is an old, entrenched, invisible system that has been separating people's lives right from the very start. So now let's meet the people living in this house. This brings us to part two, two worlds, one house. And the song paints a picture of two very distinct groups. You've got the underdogs who are living down below, and then you have the silent elite enjoying the grand world up above. And the lyrics just hammer home this contrast. It's so stark. For the people down in the basement, life is defined by confinement, words like shadows, out of sight, ceilings low. But for the people upstairs in the grand world, it's all about expansion, open skies, a house of wealth, a world so grand. I mean, they're physically in the same building, but they are living in completely different realities. And this is absolutely crucial. The folks down below, they are not just passive victims, not at all. This line is basically their mission statement. It's this incredibly powerful declaration that they're not just surviving in the basement, they are fueled by this collective dream to rise up, to break free, and to finally see those open skies for themselves. Okay, so you've got these two separate worlds living under one roof. So how do they interact? Well, that brings us to our third section, the masquerade of survival. The song describes their relationship as a very tense, very delicate game, a masquerade where the only real goal is to stay alive. And then the lyrics drop this really shocking word. The narrators call themselves parasites. I mean, what does that even mean in this context? Why on earth would they choose such a loaded, negative word to describe themselves? What is that telling us about their place in this house? Well, let's just look at the straight-up definition. A parasite is an organism that lives on a host and benefits by taking nutrients at the host's expense. So by calling themselves this, the narrators are being incredibly, brutally honest about how they see their own relationship with the people upstairs. But it's so important to see this isn't a confession of being evil. It's an explanation that comes from desperation. They're saying, we take what we can because they're just trying to survive in a broken land. It's not about malice. It's about doing what they feel they have to do in a system that's given them no other way out. And this line just beautifully captures the skill and the constant risk involved. It's not some clumsy, brutish act. It's a delicate dance. It's this constant, careful performance they have to put on, weaving through the lives of the elite, taking a huge, huge chance with every single move they make. But you just know a fragile situation like this masquerade, it can't last forever. And that brings us to the next section, a house of glass. This is where the conflict really starts to heat up. The whole imagery of the song begins to shift, and we see the entire structure becoming dangerously transparent and incredibly unstable. And it turns out, the deception isn't just a one-way street. This isn't only about the people downstairs wearing masks. This line suggests that everyone, and I mean everyone, in this house, including the wealthy elite upstairs, has a darker side that they're desperately trying to hide. And that's when the song hits us with this powerful metaphor. The entire building becomes a house of glass. And what does that mean? Suddenly, there is absolutely nowhere to hide. It's a place of complete and total vulnerability, where every secret, every lie, every mask is about to be exposed for all to see. And you can literally feel the tension reaching a boiling point here. Those invisible social lines that kept everyone in their place, they're not invisible anymore. Now, the lines are clear. The cracks are showing. The whole fragile structure is breaking down, and its instability can no longer be ignored by anyone. And all of this tension, all of these cracks, can only lead to one place, the climax. This brings us to the final act, the inevitable collision. The song stops hinting at instability, and instead shows us the dramatic, violent, and ultimately unavoidable collapse of this entire divided house. And when that collapse happens, there are no more separate floors. The basement and the grand rooms, they're gone. All those divisions that define their entire world, they just vanish in the chaos. Everyone, rich, poor, upstairs, downstairs, they all collide, trapped in the very same wreckage. So what's the final trigger? What actually brings the house down? It's the truth. The entire structure collapses because it was built on a foundation of secrets and masks, and it just can't stand anymore. It's the immense weight of everything that's been hidden below the surface that finally causes the whole thing to implode. And this final image is just chilling. It delivers the song's incredibly bleak conclusion. There are no winners. There are no escapees. The very same greed that built this house of wealth becomes the fire that ultimately consumes it. And everyone inside, everyone burns together. And that leaves us with this final provocative question. The song warns that the ones in power have the most to fear. And on one level, that makes sense, right? They have the furthest to fall. But, or do they? If the final outcome is a fire that consumes everything and everyone, does anyone really come out ahead? Or does a system built this way just guarantee that, eventually, everyone loses everything?